Hello everyone, welcome to Chasing a Murder, and today we are doing something a little bit different. So we're covering a story of Charle Vallow and Chad Daybell, considered to be the doomsday couple. But I left off my series at 117, and we're going to skip several series here to leave it open for whenever we go to Charle Vallow's trial, because we're going to learn some new information. I want to stick it there. So we're going to start with 121 today. How are you guys doing today? Hope you're doing fabulous. I was thinking of one of our subscribers. She had told me that she wasn't doing very well, and that's Miss McNeil. I haven't heard from her, and I just want to say that I've been praying for you, Miss McNeil, and I hope that things are okay and that we love you. So where we left off is Charle Vallow had been shot. By whom? Well, they're saying it was Alex Cox. He admits to it, saying that it was in self-defense, that Charle Vallow was getting aggressive with him. But a lot of people do not believe that, because there were witnesses saying that Charles was there in town to help out with JJ and to try to get help for his wife, who he felt needed mental assistance. So he reaches out to her brother Adam. Adam's trying to reach out to the family, but the family's not helping. They're ignoring this situation, and oh my gosh, I just wouldn't want to carry that guilt on my shoulders. They ignore Adam and Charles. If ever there was a point that they might have been able to stop this, this is here and now. A few people in Lori's life, they're catching on that Lori, she's bad news and could be quite dangerous. Christina Atwood threatened her, if something happened to Charles, that she would go to the police. So according to Charle Vallow, now that Charles is deceased, that evil spirit that was in his body is now gone. And Charles's spirit, which was in limbo, not certain where he'll go next, but is released from that limbo. Now, usually what they believe is if the body is dead, you have to take the mouth, bind it up to keep from other evil spirits getting into the body. That isn't something they do with Charles, so that's interesting. But people following this story, their hearts are broken, because here, evil is winning over the good. Charle Vallow is no longer on this earth. And he has children from his first wife that's been in contact with him that day. And they're going to try to reach out to Charles, and they won't be able to get contact with him again. And Charles will not show up to that meeting with his landlord and friend, Joe. Adam Cox, who says that he was worried, was kind of strange, that it was several days before he'll find out that Charles had been shot. And we'll go over how he found that out in just a second. Now, police, when they were interviewing Lori, asked, when did he show up? It says that there was text messages that Charles sent to Lori saying that he would be there at 7:30 that morning. So I want to share Joe's interview with police. You can catch the whole entire interview at East Idaho News, where he kind of describes what happened and how he found out Charles had passed.
And then he wanted to go see the house right after that. Gotcha. Of course, we didn't meet. So I'm at work Thursday morning, and my neighbors, I'm good friends with neighbors both to the north and to the south of that house on Four Peaks. Okay, they both have my phone number. I'm in communication with both of them. Well, one of them starts to text me immediately. There's yellow police tape around the house. It's a crime scene. Something's not good. They start sending me videos of the Fox News reports that there's a situation and there's police all over them. So I immediately text Charles, "Are you okay?" And I then another text message to Lori, same text message, "Are you okay?" ? Where Charles doesn't respond. Later that morning, I would say 11 o'clock-ish, I get a text, and this is all on my phone. I get a text back from Lori that says, "We are all okay. I'll call and explain later." that I spoke to you at that point, because I remember when you called me, you told me that Charles sustained injuries that were not survivable. Like he was shot and he didn't survive his injuries.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I knew that yet, or if I just, Lori was telling me we're all okay. I'll explain later. Like, I don't know that a text message that we're all okay is, like, I just don't understand. Like, but regardless, the day's events, like, so then, like, that afternoon, I think the next day I went to my neighbor's house, this neighbor's to the south, and they're like telling me, Joe, like, we don't even get what's going on there, because this guy, the shooter, because they've seen him come and go, had the same gray truck that Charles had, the Ford F-150.
Yeah, his was white, but yeah.
Yeah, well, it was sitting in the driveway for like the next 3, 4, 5 days, and the neighbors were just up in arms, like, there is a killer living in the house next to us that's not supposed to be there. Joe, you got to get this guy out of here. Like, our whole neighborhood is on eggshells. So, and he's telling me, I don't know what's going on in the house, but Thursday afternoon, the day of the murder, they're having a pool party at the house, at Lori's house. There's loud music, there's lots of people, there's kids making noise, there's swimming. It's a pool party. And they're like, wait a second, like someone was just murdered there this morning. So, I don't know how you guys puzzle these pieces together, but just how crazy the events are that had happened before, supporting all the stuff that's coming out the last several months about the fact that, yeah, from February, Charles was fearful, and then the day before, showing him an apartment and another place to live because he knew he couldn't stay at the house. Alex had been at the house for several days before and after the shooter, Alex, her brother.
Yeah.
And, the reasons I had, part of this right at the beginning was like, oh, Lori, maybe Charles had a rough side. Maybe Charles was beating up Lori and her brother was there to defend her or whatever. And maybe I was like, gosh, I've known the guy for 10 years, but I've never known that he was like that ever in my life. People sometimes have a separate personality, So early on, I think people were like, oh, poor Lori, like she had to deal with this for so long. And, Alex was just happened to be there and, shot Joe or whatever. So I think all the events that just kept going, like every time I talked to Lori, never cried, never remorseful, never like, Lori, what's the plan for the burial? Well, I've got all these family members to deal with, so I've got to go to Texas and Louisiana and plan something there. And Charles wants to be buried he wanted his ashes to be spread in Kauai, so I've got to plan a trip to take all the family members to Kauai. And this is what she was doing. She's like, so I've got 2 or 3 things to plan. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll give you a month at the end of August. You're going to have to vacate the house. I can't have this continue to be a memory for me. Charles was my friend, you're my friend, but I just need to close my doors on this house and just get it out of, I have a lot of rental properties in Chandler, so I'm like, this house just needs to be off my list.
Yeah.
So that's why she was able to stay there through the end of August. But, I think that, she kept asking, well, come over, I want to ask you about a few things. I'm like, no, I am not going over to that house. My friend Jeff, who's the police officer, don't go there alone. Don't go anywhere. Go somewhere public if she wants to talk about the situation. I just think, and I don't know what pieces of any of this. I mean, I've been called by the Vallow family because they knew with some of the relatives of Charles's that were able to access his calendar and his appointment scheduler for the last several years. Charles was very, very meticulous and precise about his appointments, and my name was on those appointments several times. So one of the family members was even telling me, yeah, Joe, like we saw your name, you're the only person, like, we're talking to FBI and law enforcement, and, we'll talk to Charles's friends that we can identify because we know who they are in his calendar and his scheduler and his notes.
Yeah.
But they were just telling me about how deep this cult is, how deep this cult is, and that they've been getting threats.
So Joe notices that when he talks to Lori, there's no remorse, there's no emotion, really. And he's starting to talk to Charle Vallow's family. I'm sure this is going to be a day or two after this. But the family's going to start saying, we already knew there was death threats to Charles, so we already know that something's not right with the shooting. So we're going to look into it, and that's what they are doing. I think one of the worst things about it is Charles' children with his first wife, Cheryl Wheeler. How they find out that their dad is no longer here is quite devastating. Before we get to that, let's take a peek at Lori and her demeanor as soon as this shooting took place. Now you got to remember, what did Lori do when she left the house? We have details on that, but I really don't want to go into those details until we can do those other parts, but we'll do a quick thing. We can tell you right now that she stops by Burger King. We know that she's going through Charle Vallow's phone. She's got her 2 children with her. Tylee, no telling what that poor girl's feeling that morning. JJ, I'm not certain if he even knows what happened that morning. And they stopped by the CVS and a few other places is what I heard. So we'll get to that eventually. And they don't call 911 immediately. That's the kicker. In fact, it seems like they're trying to stall so that Lori Vallow can go through Charles's phone. First, let's go through this 911 call after this incident.
Emergency.
I shot my brother-in-law.
Okay, what part of his body is injured?
In
I'm sorry, where?
the chest,
Okay, is he awake and responsive or unconscious?
unconscious.
Is he breathing?
I can't tell.
Are you willing to go over to him and check?
Sure.
You just let me know if you see his chest going up and down. How old is he?
It's not moving. He's 60.
Okay, and are you wanting to start CPR?
No, I don't know how to do that.
I can walk you through it.
Okay.
So what I want you to do is you're going to put one hand in the center of his chest.
Yep.
The other hand's going to go right on top of it.
Okay.
You're going to interlock your fingers, keeping your arms straight, and you're going to press down hard and fast into his chest. You're going to go 2 inches down and fairly quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Making sure his chest goes up between each compression. Where's the gun now?
In the other room.
Okay. PD, we're going to stitch for you.
Okay, thank you.
And just keep going with those compressions. PD, did you have any other questions?
Yes, what's your name, sir? My name is Alex. Last name is Cox, C-O-X.
Where are you in the house now?
In the living room.
And where is the gun?
It's in a bedroom.
Who else is there in the house with you?
Just me.
What gun is it? Was it
It's my gun. It's a 45.
a pistol? 45 caliber pistol?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's his name, your brother-in-law?
Charle Vallow.
His last name, I'm sorry.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So were you guys arguing when this happened?
Yeah.
You can tell that Alex Cox, he is uneasy, whether it's guilt, shame, or embarrassment, or all the above. Only Alex knows. But now things were happening. These little threats are now become reality. People's lives were being taken. Charle Vallow was the first domino. The demeanor of Lori Vallow was quite questionable. The fact that she just didn't seem upset, she was smiling, didn't seem to have any type of compassion, remorse, nothing. And there was no concerns about her kids being there in that horrible situation. Alex Cox is outside the house and he's talking with police, waiting on his sister, Charle Vallow, the one that caused all these issues, to arrive at the house.
So what happened today, though? Like, just in the last 20 minutes?
He came at me with a bat.
Okay. Was he living here or
No.
visiting?
He came to pick up the son.
Okay, is the son inside?
No. My sister took him to school.
Okay, so it was just you at the house?
Yes.
And he came, how long, what time did he come to pick up the son?
I don't know, maybe.
Okay, so you know who he is, let him in?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think they were talking earlier, then she left, and then he got into it with me.
Like what? What do you mean?
I don't know. He was accusing me of...
Come on over here. That truck's gonna be really loud. What was he accusing you of?
He was just yelling at me.
Okay, what was he yelling at you about?
Tell my sister because I've broken up the tussle with them earlier. He told me not to interfere anymore with them or I'd pay. He came at me with a bat.
Okay, so he showed up in the house with a bat in his hand?
No.
Okay, so
There was a scuffle earlier with my sister and my niece. My niece got involved.
about earlier meaning earlier this week, earlier
No,
this morning,
just this morning before they left.
before your wife left,
My sister.
before your sister left.
Yeah.
Okay, who lives here with you?
Nobody. I don't live here. My sister lives here and my niece lives here.
And you're just visiting?
I was visiting for the night.
Okay, so you're over here visiting your sister and your
Yes.
niece.
Yes.
Okay, and there was a tussle between your sister and her husband.
Yes.
And does the husband live here or no?
No.
Okay. Okay, is he an ex-husband or just current husband?
They're working on that.
Gotcha. So at some point earlier today, they get into some type of domestic?
Yeah, just this morning, then they left, and then he came at me.
They left meaning who? Both
My-
of parties?
Yeah, my sister took my niece and my nephew.
Okay, so they left.
She arranged some space from him, and then he came at me.
Okay, but did he leave also?
No.
He stayed here.
He stayed.
So you guys are kind of talking in between or what? Who are you? Who are you? No, just go back. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So it's just you and your brother-in-law. Okay? And kind of go through it.
So-
Say something like, hey, don't touch my sister, or
Yeah. So
Where-
yeah.
okay.
And then he picked up the bat
Where was the bat at?
in the living room.
Okay.
The guy inside me.
No,
You can see Alex Cox dabbing at his head as if he was injured. So a lot of people believe that this might have been a self-inflicted injury. A lot of people, they really doubt that Charle Vallow would have hurt anybody, much less his brother-in-law. I'm going to play this news story, but pay attention when they walk inside the house. You will see the mirrors and no furniture in that home.
Is he hurt or is he alive? Yeah, there's blood. He's not moving.
On July 11th, 2019, Charle Vallow's brother Alex Cox called 911 to report he had just killed Charle Vallow, JJ's father and Lori's estranged husband.
I got in a fight with my brother-in-law.
JJ and Tylee were all home at the time. As police questioned Lori, she didn't appear rattled or upset, even laughing at one point.
How long have you lived here?
Like 3 weeks.
Oh, geez. Yeah, okay.
That's why the neighbors don't know us.
Gotcha.
Like, hi neighbor, sorry.
Arizona detectives say throughout Lori's interview with police, she wasn't fazed.
It was kind of like a happy-go-lucky. She was just kind of smiling. She was talking about how Tylee was going to go to BYU, Hawaii, and it was just a very, very nonchalant. You would have thought that we just, recovered their stolen vehicle.
Cox is shown here dabbing at a wound he says he got after Charles hit him with the bat.
Here's the thing, is the police would investigate this. They would take Lori and Alex and Tylee in and question them, interview them, and they would be released. With the evidence we know today, we are wondering how in the world were they released? Why were they not arrested? Well, Justin Lum shared some of this story when this trial was going, and I'm going to share that now.
Lori, Alex, and even her daughter Tylee Ryan claimed that Charles hit Alex in the head with a baseball bat. Alex grabbed his gun and shot Charles twice, claiming self-defense. But at the time, Chandler detectives found Lori's calm demeanor, smiling on body cam, and even laughing as she learned of her husband's death. A Chandler firefighter also testified, saying there were no signs indicating Alex provided any CPR to Charles. He also waited to call 911 about 45 minutes after the shooting as Lori drove JJ and Tylee to Walgreens, Burger King, and dropped JJ off at school. Specifically, Detective Cassandra Yinklan described Lori's nonchalant demeanor throughout the conversation.
So you could see that clip that Justin shared where Charle Vallow drove up the Burger King as if everything was normal, getting JJ chicken fries, sending him off to school, stopping at a, Walgreens. Then they don't even call 911 until 40 minutes after the incident. Meanwhile, you have Adam Cox, who is waiting on, to hear what's going on with Charle Vallow. You have Charle Vallow's children that are going to start texting him. No one's getting any response. In fact, people will find out that Charle Vallow died, but only, if they're in that super tight circle with Lori. There's lots of people that have no idea, his kids, the Cox family, Kay Woodcock. Many people won't even find out, what happened to Charles until days afterwards. So in the media later, which we'll cover, people start to find out during this time, Charle Vallow was having a good time. She was having a pool party at her house. At least that's what the rumors were. And what we understand is that Charle Vallow believed that she was the beneficiary for that large $1 million policy that Charles had. And what had happened to Charles was an execution type shooting. And this just doesn't make sense that Alex and Lori are running the streets. Now, we didn't hear anything about a silencer being on this gun, and the kids that were just outside the door had to have heard that loud bang. Tylee said that JJ seemed distraught at one moment, but what was really going on? Tylee said, I heard a noise, which I know it was what it is now, but it sounded like someone took a bat and hit it really hard against the floor. So we do know that Lori most likely was reading Charles' phone. Did they stay at the house for a while to do it? Because we hear it takes 40 minutes for them to call 911. Does she do it while she's at Walgreens? How does she do this? Now, let's not forget, Lori had told people, a few people, that Charles was coming from Texas to kill her. Why? For her $2 million policy. Zulema would actually testify about this day on July 19th, 2019. So let's listening to her version of what happened.
I gotta ask, how do you remember that date?
Lori always said that she had a connection with the 7-Eleven, the number 7-Eleven. She would mention that number all the time as if it was some kind of she had some kind of a spiritual connection with the number 7-Eleven. And when she told me what had happened, she said that it was 7-Eleven, therefore it had been all orchestrated by God. And she felt that because it was 7-Eleven and it was her numbers, that Charles or Hibla's had been delivered to them, to him, to her and Alex.
So when you say she told you about what happened, are you saying she told you about what she said happened to Charle Vallow?
Correct.
What did she say happened to Charle Vallow on July 11th?
Charles had rented a house and Gilbert. I think it's Chandler, but it was a house for her and the kids, and they had moved into this house, and he had come from out of town to pick up JJ that morning to take him to school, I believe. And while he was putting JJ in the car, Lori took his phone, and he came back to get the phone, and she didn't want to give him the phone, so they started arguing about the phone, and Alex was there, and he got involved in the fight, and they started fighting. Alex said that he was trying to protect his sister, and then Tylee came into the middle of this fight with a baseball bat and telling Charles to leave, and that Charles had taken the bat away from Tylee, and Charles had hit Alex on the back of the head with the bat, and Charles and Alex wrestled around fighting, and at one point Alex got his gun and he shot Charles, and that's how he died.
So did she say what happened after that?
She said they had called the police, and the police had interrogated them, and they had deemed it to be in self-defense.
Did you talk to her after this, after she told you about what had happened to Charles, what she said had happened to Charles? Did she talk to you again about what was going to happen next?
Lori said that there were certain things that needed to happen before the second coming could happen, and there were certain things that she was instructed that she needed to do in order to usher the second coming, and one of them was that she needed to cleanse the earth from evil spirits. So every time that something would happen will be something like another step ushering the second coming.
So was Charles's death, what she told you, part of the steps towards the second coming?
Yes.
Okay. And if you know, did Alex believe this?
I don't know.
Okay.
So Zulema is one of her top protectors that knows that's what's going on exactly. She's mentioning the fact that Lori said that these numbers 7-11 were spiritually meaning and attached to her in some way. She also gives us a hint that Charles' death today is one of the signs at least for their group, of the second coming. So it's one of the first signs, one of the first steps that are attached to this group of people to usher in their building of Zion. And Lori really felt that she was getting that lump sum of money after he died. So just remember that. Now, something else I want to mention before we go over all the clues is if you are suspected or a person of interest when it comes to murder, if you are moving or something, they're going to keep an eye on you. But something we noticed is they're not watching Alex nor Lori very close as far as we know. So at 7:49, July 11th of 2019, that's about when the shooting takes place. Lori took Charles' rental car, his cell phone, the 2 children, heads to Burger King, then to Walgreens to buy flip-flops. She returned home 59 minutes later as police were arriving. And, and this is just after Cox placed the 911 call at 8:32 a.m. that morning. So Charles had been laying there for God knows how long, at least 30 minutes, before he even called 911. But when Charles calls 911, he says, he indicates that this incident had just happened. And they write that in their probable cause. Unless there's something, they know that we don't. To me, I would think that the Woodcock family would be able to sue them. But anyways, remember when he called 911 and they instructed him on how to do CPR. And it appears that Alex is trying to give CPR to Charles. But when emergency crews arrive, they begin to give Charles CPR, and they notice before they started there wasn't much blood, but after they began the CPR, there was some residue that actually started showing up. And this would indicate that Alex never performed CPR at all. So Charles must have been laying there for about 40 minutes before Alex called 911. He didn't perform CPR. They were trying to make sure that Charles had no way to come back. They even found phone records that indicated that Alex actually called Lori before he called 911. We don't know what all Tylee and JJ witnessed. One thing we do know is Tylee witnessed something. And her brother, even if he was at school, Tylee heard something. But there's something Lori didn't debate on. And it's the fact that Charles had spoken with his attorney, Stephen Ellsworth. He told him, I'm afraid I'm going to be killed, and I know who's going to do it. I'm telling you, Steve, so if something happens to me, I want to make sure you let everyone know that if I'm killed, that it's my wife, Lori, and her brother, Alex Cox. So you have a lot of stuff that police are getting information from. I don't know how long it took them to get the information from Charles' attorney, but the Woodcocks would be very suspicious, and they would make it known. With all of these suspicions and people asking questions and how it looked, why is it that Lori Vallow and Alex Cox are not at least persons of interest and are actually in their view? How is it that Lori's going to be able to travel all over the place and still continue to take lives? Could have the police and investigators had enough evidence to make an arrest that day? Share your thoughts below. I'm going to close it out here for now. I want to reach out and say, I really love you guys, and I know several of you have reached out to me and told me you had things going on in your life. And I'm hoping that you all get to have those beautiful days that you deserve, that you heal, and you know that we are thinking of you. Please don't forget about these girls that we cover here. Dulce, Summer Wells, especially children, they still have no answers, and their families are just left. Can you imagine not knowing what happened to your child? Anyways, this one was quite emotional for me, and I can't wait to see the trial come for Charles, and I know you can't either. Love you guys, and I'll see you guys soon. So the Easter egg we'll put in at the end here, because most people will shut out. The number 11 might have been a way to learn the secrets to an eternal life. See you guys soon.